Let's not sugarcoat it. Meghan Markle's latest brand disaster has reached new levels of humiliation. And this time, it's not just a PR blunder. It's a public, devastating rejection from one of the most universally respected figures alive, Sir David Attenborough. The message: for brutal words, don't use my name. For someone who's made a career out of borrowing shine from others, this was the one rebuke she couldn't spin. Before we dive into this wildfire of a scandal, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the full breakdowns on royal bombshells, Hollywood fallout, and media manipulation exposed. You're not going to want to miss what's coming next out now. Meghan Markle has always marketed herself as a woman of vision and advocate for sustainability, empowerment, and mindful living. Or at least, that's the story she's sold. With the launch of her brand American Riviera Orchard, she promised a new wave of luxury lifestyle products, grounded in eco-conscious values and celebrity influence. But now, with Sir David Attenborough publicly disowning any association, that brand looks more like a collapsing facade than a conscious movement. Attenborough, the 99-year-old global environmental icon, is not a man of public drama. He's spent decades quietly shaping global thought around nature, climate change, and conservation. He doesn't do gossip. He doesn't do takedowns. So when he reportedly told Meghan's team, point blank, "Don't use my name," it wasn't just a rejection, it was a thunderclap. It was a message heard across the Atlantic, and it shredded the core of Meghan's brand credibility. According to insiders, Meghan's promotional materials subtly positioned Sir David as an inspiration for American Riviera Orchard's eco-minded philosophy. But here's the kicker: he was never contacted. His team wasn't informed. There was no approval, no collaboration, no conversation, just name-dropping. Just another attempt to wrap Meghan's shaky venture in the glow of a true legend. That's not homage, that's hijacking, and critics aren't being quiet about it. The public is calling it what it is: one of the most brazen credibility grabs in recent memory. From the moment Attenborough's rebuke was made public, social media platforms exploded with mockery, outrage, and brutal memes. She tried to sell jam using a 99-year-old conservationist, one viral tweet said. Others simply quoted his 4 words, "Don't use my name." But what's most telling is Meghan's response, or rather, her silence. No statement, no clarification, no deflection. The woman who's made a habit of writing impassioned letters and heartfelt Instagram captions suddenly has nothing to say. And that silence is louder than any press release. For someone who built an empire on carefully crafted optics and strategic messaging, this moment reveals a deeper truth. Meghan's PR machine doesn't know how to handle rejection from someone it can't discredit or control, because Sir David Attenborough isn't a tabloid. He's not a YouTuber, he's not a disgruntled ex-friend, he's an untouchable cultural icon. Any attempt to clap back would look desperate and disrespectful, and Meghan knows it, and here's where the layers of this scandal start to unfold. Because this isn't an isolated misstep, it's part of a pattern. Meghan's public image has long been built on borrowed prestige. From quoting Princess Diana to referencing the Obamas to invoking Oprah, she's repeatedly aligned herself with respected figures to elevate her own platform, and every time the implication is clear: I'm part of them. I'm one of the good ones. You can trust me because they do. But trust is earned, not borrowed. And Sir David's rejection has exposed just how thin that borrowed trust has become. Let's not forget American Riviera Orchard has already been plagued by rollout issues. Products selling out in under an hour with no restocks. Luxury jams and floral sprinkles offered in gift baskets to select influencers with no actual e-commerce availability. Critics are calling it what it is: a glorified photo shoot, masquerading as a brand launch. And now, even the influencers who received those baskets are distancing themselves. Names that once reposted Meghan's launches people with real reach in the lifestyle space have gone radio silent. According to PR insiders, Meghan's camp has been frantically contacting them behind the scenes, begging for continued support. But the enthusiasm is gone, because now there's a new risk: getting caught promoting a brand that used Sir David Attenborough without permission. And let's be honest, this isn't just a branding failure, it's a moral failure. Using the legacy of a man who has dedicated his entire life to environmental truth for a luxury brand that, so far, appears more aesthetic than sustainable. That's not just unethical, it's insulting. Even Meghan's most loyal defenders are struggling to find a spin, and when your entire brand depends on spin, that's a dangerous place to be. But that wasn't the whole story. Because behind the headlines and the viral quotes lies a bigger question. How did Meghan think this would go unnoticed? Flags that the global community wouldn't question it? Leadership. It was reckless. And here's where the damage really multiplies. This wasn't just any launch. Meghan hyped American Riviera Orchard as a mindful lifestyle revolution. She teased orchard aesthetics, handcrafted packaging, and eco-values. She used the language of sustainability. But let's be honest, this brand has been smoke and mirrors from the start. From its vague product timeline to its exclusive gifting strategy, it's looked less like a business and more like a curated image campaign. And now that campaign is unraveling. Retail. Analysts have been warning for weeks that the brand lacks infrastructure. No clear product catalog, no retail partners, no pricing, no transparency. According to leaks from inside her team, several key hires from Apple, Google, and Netflix have quietly stepped back from public involvement. These weren't just interns, they were high-level strategic consultants brought in to legitimize the brand. But after the backlash, especially someone like Attenborough, who represents everything Meghan claims to champion: integrity, mindfulness, authenticity. Instead, what we saw was textbook greenwashing, a luxury product line dressed in the aesthetics of environmentalism, with none of the substance. Glossy Instagram content, curated orchard shots, and now, no legend backing her up. It's not just that Attenborough said no, it's that he made the world see it, and the media followed. Major outlets from London to New York ran headlines about the rejection. Influencers posted side-by-side images comparing Attenborough's decades of service with Meghan's orchid-styled jam jars. Memes went viral, hashtags trended. "Don't use my name" became a digital rallying cry. And still, Meghan said nothing. No apology, no explanation, no clarification about how his name came to be included. That silence isn't just about embarrassment, it's about legal risk. Pitt's a liability. Insiders say Meghan's legal team is now involved, combing through her marketing material to avoid potential lawsuits. The brand's website has quietly removed all references to Attenborough. In the latest episodes of Arise with Emma Grede, where Meghan teased new product launches, are being re-edited to avoid further backlash. But the damage is done. When the world sees that your eco-brand was built on a lie on stolen association, it doesn't matter how many jars you sell, the illusion has shattered. And speaking of illusion, let's talk about how this moment fits into Meghan's broader pattern. Because this isn't the first time she's tried to cloak herself in another, or how she framed herself as being part of the Obama circle during their public events. How she emphasized ties to Oprah during the launch of ARCUL, they were built on implication. Carefully worded sentences, strategic photo ops, a nod, a wink, and the hope that the audience would make the leap. If Diana liked her, we should too. If Oprah's involved, it must be real. They're asking harder questions. And in this case, they got a rare. Because once Sir David Attenborough drew his boundary publicly and firmly, other cracks began to show. Former staffers, speaking anonymously to British outlets, described the inner workings of American Riviera Orchard as chaotic and disconnected from reality. One insider revealed that Meghan would frequently change the direction of the brand on a whim, pivoting from wellness to luxury, from authenticity to aesthetic, all based on Instagram trends rather than strategy. She wanted it to feel organic, but everything was overly curated, the source said. We'd spend hours arranging flower petals around jam jars for a single photo, while no one was sourcing packaging that was actually sustainable. And then came the real bombshell. Nearly all of Meghan's sustainability claims, packaging, local sourcing, environmental alignment, were completely unverifiable. There was no certification, no transparency, and no third-party oversight. Just buzzwords. The fallout wasn't limited to branding experts. Environmental activists started calling her out too. One leading voice on TikTok broke down the full life cycle of American Riviera Orchard's products, from imported materials to wasteful shipping, to show that the brand wasn't remotely eco-friendly. This led to one of the most brutal yet a viral side-by-side comparison video titled "Sir David Attenborough's Legacy versus Meghan Markle's Jam." The message, loud and clear: authenticity can't be faked, respect can't be borrowed, and celebrity gloss isn't enough anymore. But the most telling indicator of how serious this reputational hit is, Buckingham Palace's silence. You see, when Meghan is caught in controversy, the palace typically stays neutral. But royal insiders are quietly thrilled by Attenborough's statement. Because Sir David has long been a close ally of the crown, working directly with Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, and now King Charles on conservation projects. He's joined them on documentaries, he's advised on environmental initiatives, and he's stood beside them at global summits. For him to publicly distance himself from Meghan, it sends a strong cultural message. The UK's most trusted figures are not backing her anymore. That shift in alignment matters. It reframes Meghan not just as a controversial figure, but as someone actively losing favor with Britain's most respected voices. The tide isn't just turning, it's already turned. And if you think this is just about jam and brand endorsements, think again. This hits at the core of Meghan's public strategy. Her entire brand persona, from post-royal life to Netflix series to Spotify podcasts, has been about storytelling, about crafting an identity that blends royalty, activism, mindfulness, and entrepreneurial flair. But this moment reveals what happens when that story isn't rooted in truth. When credibility is propped up by borrowed voices, when authenticity is replaced by manipulation, it's not just the public that's noticing. Retail experts are now forecasting the rapid decline of American Riviera Orchard unless there is a total overhaul, public apologies, product transparency, and an actual business model, not a content strategy. But based on Meghan's past behavior, many doubt any of that will happen. What's more likely is what always happens when her projects face backlash: a sudden rebrand, a carefully worded statement months later, and a pivot to another venture. Because for Meghan, the product has never really been jam, or podcasts, or activism. It's always been Meghan, the image, the spectacle, the curated story of struggle, triumph, and reinvention. And for a while, that story worked. But now, thanks to a 99-year-old man with more integrity than most media empires combined, that story is falling apart, and the world is watching it happen in real time. But the damage doesn't stop there. Because once the illusion is shattered, it's nearly impossible to put back together. Meghan Markle's greatest asset was never her acting talent, her royal title, or even her celebrity connections. It was the narrative, the control over how she was perceived. The underdog turned duchess, the woman silenced by the palace, the advocate for change. But the Attenborough scandal cut through all of that swiftly, surgically, and without mercy. This wasn't some anonymous troll or tabloid scandal. This was Sir David Attenborough, universally admired, globally respected, standing up and saying, "I want no part in this." That kind of public distancing isn't just damaging, it's defining. It creates a before and after in someone's public image. And Meghan, she's now in the after. The media's framing has changed. Reporters are no longer asking, "Is Meghan misunderstood?" They're asking, "Can Meghan be trusted?" Headlines are no longer about royal bullying. They're about brand dishonesty. And commentators who once defended her are beginning to walk away citing exhaustion, confusion, or flat-out embarrassment. Even Hollywood is backing off. Sources from production companies say Meghan and Harry are struggling to secure new deals. Executives are reportedly wary of attaching their names to projects that may be dragged into controversies over false endorsements, unsustainable claims, or PR fakery. The industry thrives on image, and right now, hers is radioactive. Let's be clear, Meghan Markle isn't the first celebrity to stretch the truth for branding purposes, but she may be one of the few to do it so publicly, so recklessly, and with such tone-deaf arrogance. You don't casually co-opt the legacy of a man who spent his life educating the world about nature just to sell flower sprinkles, especially not when that man still has the power to respond and does. And if you're still wondering whether this moment will be forgotten, don't. Because from now on, every article about American Riviera Orchard will include the phrase "rejected by Sir David Attenborough." Every discussion about Meghan's ventures will reference this misstep. Every public appearance will be shadowed by the question, is she for real? The legacy of this scandal isn't just reputational, it's cultural. It's a turning point in how the public views performative activism, borrowed credibility, and the shallow ecosystem of celebrity wellness brands. Meghan didn't just face a rebuke, she became a case study, and all it took was 4 words. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a brand hanging by a thread, a founder exposed for prioritizing aesthetics over accountability, a PR team scrambling behind the scenes, and a public that's no longer buying what Meghan's the story. Not the lifestyle, not the spin. This isn't just about jam. This is about trust. And once that's gone, especially with someone like Sir David Attenborough leading the charge, it doesn't come back. If you've had enough of the manipulation, the curated chaos, and the endless attempts to dress up vanity as virtue, then make your voice heard. Share this story, demand transparency, and stop rewarding brands built on smoke and mirrors, because real legacy isn't borrowed, it's earned. And if you're still here, still watching, then clearly you care about the truth behind the headlines. So hit that subscribe button now and join a growing community of viewers who aren't afraid to call out the fakes and uplift the voices that matter. We're just getting started, and the next story might be even bigger.